Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. Class started, so please put away all of your phones. How are you, everyone? Good? Today is not last day.
No, I'm saying I'm ready for the last.
Ah, okay. Me too.
I'm ready to break.
So our final lesson will be exactly 1 week from today, 8 a.m. in the morning. Okay. So don't be late. If you are 20 minutes late, you cannot actually take the final by the departmental policy. So definitely cannot be late, and you will not be given any extra time. They have a room problem, so right after our exam, there will be another exam in the room. So you're not gonna get any extra time. You have to finish the exam by 10. So that means we have to start our exam by 8. I will try to come a little bit early, like around 7:30, so that I can give you a review before the final. A short review. Okay? Any question, comments, anything? I don't have your exam today. I'm going to give your exam back in our next class, which would be our last class. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing one review with you, another review with my afternoon class. So far I did 2 reviews, and then we have 3rd review here, 4th review with mother class. So you should watch the recording for all the reviews for the final exam, because in one class, I cannot finish all the reviews if I only give you all the questions for the final exam. And if you want to study alone, your review is all the review sheets for exam 1 to 3 and exam 1 to 3. If you study those, you'll be fine. So what I'm doing here is I'm refreshing your memory of what you learned from the beginning of the class. Okay? So this question is asking, find the domain of this rational function. Do you guys remember how do you find domain? What is domain? X values. So domain means what X values we can plug in this function. For numerator, we don't have any problem. We can plug in anything, but denominator, we cannot plug in everything, right? You said 0. Okay, so if we set X to be 0, we have 16 minus 0 squared, which is 16. It's a valid number. So you can plug in 0, but we cannot plug in what? If you do negative 16, it's negative 16 squared, which is something, 196. So 16 minus 196, it's a minus number. It's fine. We can have a minus number on the denominator. The hint is what we cannot have on any denominator. 1/-2. Is it not real? It is real, so you can have negative number. So there is one number for in general denominator. There's only one number you cannot have on the denominator, 0. So in general, we cannot have 0 on the denominator. That means we need to see what makes the denominator 0. So we start by our problem. Our problem is denominator definitely cannot be 0. It can be positive, it can be negative, but it definitely cannot be 0. So we take this denominator, which is 16 minus x squared, and we said, hey, that denominator cannot be 0. And now we want to see what makes this denominator 0. So we solve for x. How do you solve for x? Subtract 16, no problem. Yeah, we can simply add x squared. Let's do that. Why wasting our time? We can add x squared to both sides. So they cancel out. We have 16 cannot be x squared. In other words, what numbers make 16 if you square it? What number square gives you 16? 4 and minus 4. That means there are two numbers from the entire number line that we cannot plug in for x in this program. Because if you do, then our denominator becomes 0, everything becomes invalid. Well, we got the answer, but we are not done because we have to write the answer in table notation. So from the entire number line, from negative to positive infinity, we can substitute anything for our x, but there are two numbers that we cannot substitute, -4 and +4. So everything before that, between that, after that, we are allowed to plug in besides those two numbers. So how do we write an interval notation? Negative infinity and then -4. Bracket means you can plug in x with -4. Parentheses. Perfect. So we are giving the list of all the x values that we are allowed to substitute for our x, which is same as we definitely cannot substitute x with 4 and -4. There will be one domain question in the final. Either it will be kind of easier like this, or it will be something with the square root. And they might give you something like this. So this is 3, this is 5, this is 7, and this is 1. This is 4, this is 2, and this is 4. We do the same thing here, but with graph. So domain, it means what x values you see we have in this graph, from what to what. So where our x value started? -4. For -4, do we have a closed circle or an open circle? Open means we cannot use -4, so it's a parenthesis. Now, for this piece, the lower piece, this piece has -4 until 2, right? But look at the upper piece. It started exactly at 2, right? So we don't have any gap at 2. We finished at 2 and we started our journey exactly from 2. Now, at 2, we have no problem because for these two, we have a valid y value 7 here. Even though we don't have any y value here, but we have a y value there. So when x is 2, we do have a y value. So this journey is continuous on x-axis. When we reach up to here, we still continue our journey until we reach the x value 4. So domain of this graph is -4 to 4 because we did not have any gap on our x values. So when x is 4, do we have a valid y value or we don't? When x is 4, what do we have? Close or open? Close means what? Parentheses or bracket? Bracket. Bracket means we have a number for that x. We have a y value for that x, and it's true. We have a closed circle, so y will exist there. So our journey doesn't have any gap. That's why it's from -4 to +4. Open circle means no y value exists, no x value exists. That's why we use parentheses. On the other hand, closed circle, it means x and y value both exist. That's why we use bracket, because bracket means we're allowed to have a number next to that bracket. Parenthesis means we don't. Now let's look at the y's. What is the smallest y we have? Louder. 3. Really? Why do we have x here? What is our y? So what is the lowest y value we have? 1. So for this piece, our y values are from 1 to 3, right? For the lower piece, this is the y value we are using. And then suddenly we have to jump to get to this piece. For this piece, our y value start from 5, and then we continue going until 7. So for y's, we do have a jump. We started from 1 until we reach 3 for the lower piece. Lower piece has y value from 1 to 3. If you look at the upper piece, that upper piece has a y value from here until the y value from here. So this piece. Hmm? Tomorrow, next class.
So far, the people do good.
I didn't start grading.
Not yet.
I started grading my afternoon class first. In that class, they did better. Bless you.
Thank you.
They did good in my afternoon class. So your class, I didn't start yet.
You're nervous. I know all class does it work.
That's why I didn't want to start. Okay, so we see the y values we have for the two pieces from 1 to 3 and from 5 to 7. And between them, we have a gap. So we have to indicate that gap. So our range starts from 1 here. But for this one, we don't have any valid y value. It is open circle. So since we don't have a valid y value, it's parentheses. And we go up to this point. This point is 3. But again, we don't have any valid y value because it's open circle. So another parenthesis. And then we jumped from 3 to 5. And we started our journey at 5. Now, at 5, do we have an y value or we don't? We do, right? So what will be the boundary? Parentheses or brackets? Closed circle means bracket. And we walked until we reached the y value 7, bracket again. So anytime you have an open circle, means we don't have any valid x and y, so it's parentheses. Closed circle means we have an x, and for that x we have an y, so it's a bracket. Any question? Sometimes it comes. Few times it came. Not exact questions, but very similar. Okay, the next question. We have f of x is x squared minus 3. They want us to find f of 4h plus 4, f of 4 plus h, and subtract f of 4. So what do we do first? They gave us f of x. They want us to find f of 4 plus h minus f of 4. If we know f of x, can we find f of 4 plus h? To find f of 4 plus h, all we have to do is substitute all the x we see in our f of x with 4 plus h. This is what it means. Substitute x with 4 plus h. So first step, find what is f of 4 plus h. Well, now we have something square. Can we distribute the square? We cannot, because distribution of the power works only in the multiplication and division. If you have a plus or minus between the two things, we cannot distribute. We can start with f of 4, but since we have this one first, we started with this one first. So instead of distributing, we actually do FOILing. Distributing means this.
I thought everyone knew that.
No. Distribute means you just distribute. This is not same as FOILing.
Same thing. I feel like it's
In FOIL, we distribute two things. But only if you say distribute, it means you're distributing the power. The one power, you're distributing only once for each term inside. They're not same. So using FOIL, you can distribute this. You'll get 16 plus 8h plus h squared. We have like terms, so we're going to combine. And let me write them in order. What is 16 minus 3? So this is our first step. Find what is f of 4 plus h. Go ahead, Roger.
just plug in 4 to the original alphabet equation. Every time you see the x, you will replace it with 4.
Perfect. So our second step, we need to find what is f of 4. So in the original function, instead of x squared minus 3, we write 4 squared minus 3. So we have 16 minus 3, that gives us 13. So we did step 1, we did step 2. Now last step is go back to the question and substitute them. So they're saying subtract f of 4 from f of 4 plus h. So step 1, step 2, and now we are doing step 3. F of 4 plus h we found is h squared plus 8h plus 13. F of 4 we found is 13. So combining like terms, what happens? They cancel out. So we have h squared plus 8h. Do you remember doing this at the beginning of the semester?
Yeah.
Kind of. I had the same question twice, so let me. Is this?
Professor,
Huh?
if everyone doesn't do well in the third test, are you gonna give up? Are you gonna feel like?
Do you have time for makeup test? I don't.
Let them do it.
I don't have time.
You also zoom in question. I
This. Okay.
can't. So fine.
Are you done with the left page? Okay, so let me draw the graph here. The first one is this, and the second one is this. Question is, what's the equation of this one? Only x cubed? It's negative x cubed. Because the original x cubed has this shape. But this is the reverse of the original one. So it's negative x cubed. So what's the equation for this one? D. So we have negative x cubed here. So it's going to up. So it's plus 2, and it's the negative function. So it is D. The negative x cubed points 2 unit up. Hmm?
And why don't you say closer?
Okay, the next one. This is 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the other one. So what's the first one? X cubed without any transformation. It's the original x cubed. Go ahead, Sharon. So how you're gonna write? How you're gonna start your equation? Parentheses x, and then cube. Wonderful. Since you went right 4 units, so your 4 must be inside. Oh man, I didn't see the answer there. Well, at least you got it correct. Even with cheating. So yeah, since you are going right, so it should be inside the parentheses next to the x. And left right means we take the opposite sign. So going right should be +4, but instead of +4, we do -4, and then our parentheses with the power. Now let's do one more. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the equation of this function? Go ahead. Almost correct.
Negative. Yeah. Negative.
See, the original x cube has this shape, but our graph doesn't have the same shape as x squared, x cube, so it must be negative x cube. So, yep, the negative x cube, we shifted 3 right, 4 up, so -3 inside, +4 outside. Okay, one last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. What's the equation for this one? And this time it's perfect. We have the original shape, so it's not negative anymore. It's positive, and we shifted 4 units left, means +4 inside. 3 units down means -3 outside. Try to remember that till you finalize them. After that, you may forget.
Not really. Yeah.
But you're going to need them again if you take pre-calculus. In much harder than this class.
What do you mean much harder in the math?
Wait, how hard is calculus? Once you learn breakdown, how hard is it?
Calculus is easier than pre-calc. Because pre-calculus, you are learning all the important things you need to do calculus. So once you have your basic knowledge, then your next step is easier. So compared to pre-calculus, calculus is easier.
So, you ever took Calc 2 or 3?
My major was math. I had to take so many math classes.
What's that? You ever took the
Yeah. No. Linear algebra wasn't fun.
Yeah, I heard that it's hard.
I thought it's algebra. So I was like, oh, it's algebra. How hard that could be. And I was like, seriously? It's not algebra at all. It's completely different world. Man.
How long were you studying for every day?
How long? I don't remember my undergrad. Huh? I actually took 6 years. Because I took 3 classes or 4 classes. No, I was full-timer, but I didn't take, never in my life I took 5 classes.
All right.
The maximum I took was 4.
First one, I must forgot already how you do this, but you rewrite the page. Whatever goes into the power one time. You'll rewrite it to the power.
So we are going to rewrite 81 based on the denominator. What number to the power 4 gives us 81? Okay. So we rewrite in our first step. Why did we rewrite? What is our goal? Cancel out the denominator. So 3 to the power 3 gives us 27. The next one, let me rewrite 64 to the negative 2/3. So So what do we do? How do we read x64?
This is one I watched over
Nobody remembers? We are looking for one number to the what power? Third, because our denominator right now is 3. So based on the denominator, we do that. So what number, if you multiply 3 times, becomes 64? 4. Huh? What did you use?
there. I can't even consider math now.
It's 4 to the 3. We cancel the denominators and we have 4 to the negative 2.
Cause you got a fraction, you gotta, so you got exponent, negative exponent, you gotta make it.
Negative means 1 over positive exponents. So what do we have? 1 over 16. So you'll have one of these, definitely, either the positive power or the negative power.
I have a question. So for pre-calc in our school, you didn't a lot of people like struggle like fail that class.
It actually depends on how much you study. The last time I taught pre-calculus, one student dropped and one student failed. The rest of the class passed.
You know, like people just lucky to have you as a teacher, you know.
That's true.
But
Because basically I give everything whatever will be in the exam. So as long as you study the materials I give you, it passes.
and your tests are easy.
Yeah.
I'm making it up. The teachers in our school, like sometimes the tests, like I'm gonna kill them for the rest of the class.
But now they have another type of pre-calculus, which is 2001.
Huh? Is it easier?
I never taught 2001. They started new. So I have no idea.
Then you're 2009 class.
We have 2003 and 2009. And now they discovered a new one, 2001. 2003 and 9, they're the exact same thing. Exact same material, exact same everything. The difference is 2009 gets more time than 2003. 2009 meets 3 times a week. 2009 meets 3 times a week, and 2003 meets twice a week. But since you guys are sick, it doesn't matter what you take, you're gonna have 2 hours, 5 minutes twice a week.
Wow.
Okay, but I saw the syllabus for 2001. So if you are not science major, or if you don't need that calculus, you can take 2001. 2001 is what we are learning now. Half is that, and half is trigonometry. I wish to teach 2001. It's will be fun. Okay, do you remember this? Distribute, good. So now we can distribute because we are multiplying on the top and also on the bottom. So step 1, distribute. We do this, 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 and this. We distribute everything on the power, distribute the power, everything on the base. So 10 square, x to the negative 3 square on the top, 2 to the negative 4 on the bottom, x squared to the negative 4 on the bottom. Two powers together, what do we do? Multiply. And my advice, don't do anything until you have all the powers positive. Don't try to distribute the negative 4 with the 2. I am 100%, 98% sure or 99% sure that you're going to make mistake if you work with the negative power. Bless you. So don't do anything with the powers until you see all the powers are positive.
Yep, but how about for the regular number, why 2 and -4, you still leave it below?
Any negative power, they switch sign.
Oh,
So we have a -6. We need to bring it down to make it +6. This 2 has a -4 power. We need to bring it up to make it +4 power. This x has a negative power. We need to bring up to make it have a positive power. So that's why don't try to do anything until you convert every negative power into positive power. Listen to my advice, you'll not make mistake. If you don't trust me, go take your exam 1 or 2. I don't remember which exam we did. And if you didn't listen to me, I'm definitely sure you made a mistake there. So that's why don't do anything until you have all the powers positive. Now 10 squared doesn't have any negative, so we keep our 10 squared. If you want, you can write as 100, no problem. Denominator 2 has a negative power, so we bring it up to make it has a positive power. Denominator x has a negative power, we bring up so that it can have a positive power. Now numerator x is a -6. We bring it down to make it have a +6. Okay? So switch them around so that everything has positive power. Now you can see that we have a division. In division, what do we do?
smaller number.
Bigger
Oh,
number.
I don't know how to speak.
So 8 minus 6. And what is 10 square?
Like good.
What is 2 to the 4? 16.
Fine.
So what is 100 times 16? X squared.
So, like,
Trust me, they will have so many options which are very similar to one another. So you may pick an option that says this one, or probably this one, or something like that. So none of these are correct. You may get those, one of those, by doing wrong work. But the correct one is 1600 x squared on the same level. Okay? So warning, don't do anything until you convert all the negative power into positive power. Next thing, we multiply. We have cube roots of 54 and 2. We put them together under 1 cube root. And we have cube root of x to the 4 and x to the 14. Let's say this is 15. X to the 15. So when you multiply numbers and variables, keep the numbers under one root and keep the variables under another root. Now let's work with the variable. In multiplication, what do we do with the powers? Add them. So what do we have? X to the 19. And then we rewrite as a fraction. What goes on the top? What goes on the bottom? 19 over 3. And then we divide. 3 goes to 19 how many times? 6 times with remainder 1. So we rewrite this. Cube root of x to the 1. The remainder always goes back to the inside. Actually, let me write a little bit to the right. Cube root of x to the 1. Whatever you have on the remainder, it goes inside as a power. And whatever we have outside, what happens to that? It goes outside as a power. So the whole number goes outside as a power on the variable. The remainder goes back inside the radical as a power on the variable. So it's simplified our variable. Now, what do you think about the other one? Go ahead, Roger.
First option was like,
If you want, you can multiply. If you don't want, you can keep everything.
so me, personally, I would probably multiply it.
Multiply, okay.
No,
4 times 2, 8, 5 times 2, 10. And then
cube would-
what is your goal?
try to get the biggest number that you can cube out of 108.
Mm-hmm.
Like so.
That's why multiplying doesn't help you because you need to divide anyway. So instead of multiplying and work with a big number, look what happens here. 2 is 2 and 1, right? What is 54? What two numbers makes 54? 9 and 6. Now, none of them are perfect cube, right? So let's keep breaking them down. 9 is what and what? And 6 is what and what? 3 and 2. So we have 3, 3, 3. We see in our perfect cube. And we have these two with these two, right? So we are going to combine these 3, 3 together and these 2 square. We break our cube root into 2 pieces. For one piece, we need them. The other piece, we keep them. What happens to the cube root and cube power? What is left? And what do you have inside the other radical? How much is 2 square? 4. See? That's how you break the numbers. Break them so that they become smaller. When you see the smaller one, we can figure out how many numbers we need based on what kind of root they give us. And now what is our last step? Put them together, not add them, put them together. This 3 is outside, this x to the 6 is outside. So we pair them. This 4 and this x, they're inside the cube. So 4x. The exponent is 1, so if you don't want, you don't have to write it down. You have one of these in the final. Any question? Alexis. 1 power, right? So 1 power is invisible. Or this one is nothing. If you want, you can do this. 2 times 2 times 1. So it's 4. Okay, now comes multiplication. 2 square root of 5 minus 3. 2 square root of 5 plus 3. What do we do? It is multiply, right? I mean, this is a multiply, but between them here, multiplication, so obviously you're going to multiply. And you have 2 choices. Either you multiply using 12 or there is a shortcut. Hmm? Hmm? Conjugates. They are conjugates because it's the exact same two things, their signs are different. Guys, no phone. Roger, I'm going to put your phone away. Jean, no phone. Hmm? So these are conjugates. So when you multiply, we have difference of perfect squares. So first term square minus second term square. What is our first term? 2 radical 5. What is our second term? 3. That's it. We take each of them, square them, and then we simplify. What do we get from 2 radical 5 whole thing square? We distribute, so we get 4 times 5. And what is 3 square? 4 times 5? 20 minus 9? This is shortcut. It will make your life easier. We have this type of question in the exam. And we shortcut only when you see that you have the exact same two things with different signs. So you take each of them and you square them. Did you notice blue and red makes black? It doesn't make sense, right? Blue and red. How come it becomes black? Okay, the next step question. 4 radical. Oh man, I hate that. So make this bigger. So this time we cannot use shortcut because the two factors you are working with, they don't have the same two numbers, same two terms. So we really have to do foiling this time. We take the first term. How come it can't work? Back. Okay. 4 root 2 plus 7, 3 root 2 minus 4. So we take the first one and we multiply each one here. 4 root 2 times 3 root 2. And then we have plus 4 root 2 times negative 4. Next, we take our 7 and we multiply each one. So plus 7 times 3 root 2 plus 7 times -4. You take 1 from the left, everything on the right. Now what do we have? 4 times 3, 12, and we have square root of 2 times square root of 2. Square root of 2 square. If they give you a big number, you can simply cancel out the square and the root. And then we have plus 4 times -4. That gives us -16 root 2. Then we have 7 times 3. 21 root 2. Finally, 7 times -4. -28. Now the square and square root, they cancel out. We left to it 12 times 2. What is 12 times 2? 24. In the middle, do we have like terms? -16 root 2 plus 21 root 2. What do we have? Huh? -16 root 2 plus 21 root 2 plus 5 root 2. And we bring down our -28. Do we have more like terms? What do we get from them? -4 plus 5 root 2. Whatever questions we are doing here, make sure before the final, you go over every question. Trust me, all the questions you see, you're going to see them in the final. That's why I'm doing it here.
Alright, so like you said that.
Of course, last is our last class. Last is our last class. I have to finish everything before that. So I'm gonna grade today and tomorrow.
You really graded the homework and quizzes are really fun.
My MATLAB does that. So that reminds me, make sure you complete all the homework by tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is the last day of submitting all the homework and quizzes.
What about the green one?
What is green one?
Like the final.
Oh, it's not for grade. You can have for practice, but they will not be for graded.
Okay.
So all the homework on each section and all the quizzes, the grade will be on those. So make sure, guys, submit everything by tomorrow. So on Thursday, I'll tell you how much exactly you need to pass this class in the final exam.
So it's 17.
Okay, rationalize the denominator. What do we use to rationalize?
Want to get the modifier to be a whole number.
Our goal is to get rid of the square root. So what do you do? Multiply by conjugate. What's the denominator conjugate? 9 minus square root of 5. So you multiply both top and bottom. If your numerator has only one number, keep it, don't distribute, because we may be able to cancel the denominator sometimes. But if it's 2 terms, you always have to distribute. So since you have 1 term on the original numerator, so I'm going to keep it. When you multiply 2 conjugate, what do you do? The first one, you can use FOIL, but why wasting your time? Why do you have a shortcut? The first one square minus radical 5 square. We keep our numerator. And what do we have? 81 minus 5. And what is 81 minus 5? What? 76. 9 minus square root of 5. Can you divide 17 and 76? No, right? 7 times 1 is 7, 2 is 14, 3 is 21, 4 is 28. Yeah. So we get 6 if you multiply 7 times 8. 7 times 8 is 56, but it doesn't work. So we keep it.
Would it? Go do it.
We don't have to. Unless in the multiple choice they distribute it on the top. You don't have to. If your original numerator has 1 term, don't distribute. But if it's 2 terms, then you must distribute. Okay, solving radical equation. What do we do?
Oh.
We want to make sure square root term is alone before you square. So 4x plus 41, and we have x plus 5.
Now, where the square root both sides get the square root and 4x plus 41.
And what is x plus 5 squared? Huh? X plus 5 squared is what? X squared plus 10x plus 25. Perfect. X squared plus 10x plus 25. Because we need to FOIL them. If you can't do it, no problem. Sure. Okay, so what do we do now? Our goal is to get everything to one side because we can factor out, hopefully. Even if you cannot, we can still use quadratic formula. Most of the time, these questions are factorable. 99%. X squared plus 6x minus what? 25 minus 41. 16. So what do we have? 8 and 2. So negative 2, positive 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 minus 2 is 6. 8 has to be plus because our middle term is plus.
And now you want to get your answer to x.
X plus 8, 0. X minus 2, 0. That gives us.
Now,
Good. Just because you got something, it doesn't mean you go and pick that from the multiple choice. You must check. Oh, I don't have space, so let's do it here. We must check our work always for square root, denominator, and logarithmic. There are 3 types of questions you always have to check your work. So we have 4x plus 41 is x plus 5. X is negative 8. So we have 4 times negative 8 plus 21. It has to give us negative 8 plus 5. So what do we have? 4 times negative 8. Negative 32 plus 41. What do we have? And square root of 9? 3. How about the other side? Negative 8 plus 5. Do we have the same thing? No. So we're disregarding this one. Just because you're disregarding one, it doesn't mean you automatically accept the other one. You must take the other one because sometimes you get no solution. So same thing again. 41, 4 times 2 plus 41 should be 2 plus 5. 8 plus 41 gives us square root of 49. That gives us 7. And this time we have the same thing. So answer is x equals 2. Again, you must take both of them because we get sometimes no solution. When none of them work, it's no solution. Daniela, how come you're not writing anything? You already done? Cool, cool. The next one. We have 3 minus 5i times 7 plus 4i. Well, perfect. So 3 times 7 plus 3 times 4i. Next, we take negative 5. So negative 5i times 7, negative 5i times 4i. And I remember clearly, most of you got this wrong in the exam. Probably, but most students got this wrong. So what do we have for the first one? 3 times 7? 21. The next one? 12i. So what happens? Negative 20 times negative 1? Positive 20. So this is 23i negative. This is 21. Combining like terms, 41 minus 23i. So your job will be go back to your exam and see why did you get it wrong. As far as I remember, most of you got it wrong because of this. You didn't write it's I square. You wrote simply I. And then if you did I square, you forgot that the negative 20 turns into positive 20.
What do you think will be the hardest?
The hardest depends on you. What you don't understand the most will be the hardest for you. Then probably graphing will be harder for you, the hardest one. Do you remember these? Simplifying I.
So, I remember there's 4 different variants of I that one we do. That's what I.
But I taught you a shortcut.
For how much more fast?
If you have
15 plus. Sorry.
I remember.
if you have an even number. Man, what's wrong with this? Okay. I40 plus I43 plus I46 plus I49. Okay, what did I teach you? Do you remember?
So I1 is I, and I2 is -1, and I3 is negative I, and I1 is 1.
So you remember the rule, remember all those power, right?
I mean,
But what I taught you is this: if you can divide by 2, and let's say you are dividing by 2, you get a odd power. What's the answer? -1. If you divide by 2 and you get an even power,
1.
1. And if you cannot divide by 2, if you divide by 2 and you get a remainder, let's say you divide by 2 and you get remainder 1 I. Yes, so 3 scenarios.
This is the same thing. You did one less rule. At that point, you see what.
Yeah, you can follow your rule, but I try to remember my rule so that I can remember it later. So 40 divided by 2, what do we have? 20, right? It's even. So our answer will be 1 for this one. I43, it's odd number, so you have to split into 2 pieces. So I to the 42 and I. Same thing, I49 is odd number, so I to the 48 and I. But in the middle, we have 46 divided by 2. 2 goes to 46 how many times? 2 goes to 4 twice. 2 goes to 6. So 23 odd or even? Odd. So if you have odd, it's -1. If you had even, it's +1. When you divide by 2 and you get odd power, the answer is -1. If you divide by 2 and you get an even power, which I missed, 40 divided by 2 is 20. It's even, so answer is +1. And now we do the same thing again. 42, 21, so you get negative, right? So it's negative I from here, 1 from here, -1 from here, and here we have 48 divided by 2. 24 is even, so it's +1 with the I. So when you combine everything, what do you have? +1, -1 cancel out. Negative I, positive I cancel out. 0. So if you know your rule, stick with your rule. But that rule, this rule I found is easier to remember. No problem. As long as you show your work, I will accept that. What if what? Nothing. If you don't show work, I'm warning you. If you do things mentally, don't expect to get a grade on that. In order to get a point for your work, you must show your work. And the work has to be correct.
How do you show work? And then when you get to using answer choice, kind of dumb and you do wrong answer choice.
It's wrong. You take careful.
Then what?
Okay, so if you're randomly choosing an answer, it's on your luck, right?
Yeah, probability is 25%.
So why should I give you a point for your luck? Your luck is only for you, not for me. But if you show work, it's for me because it tells me that I taught you well.
On my old test, they will say that if you're learning out of time, just pick an answer. You never know if you get it right.
It works for a standardized test, but not in Baruch.
Yeah, wait, first,
I asked the same question to our coordinator, like, well, what if they don't have time and they just pick something and luckily they get correct? He's like, well, luck doesn't work.
but here's the thing. Luck, I wouldn't say luck work, but every answer choice is 1 in 5, so you have a 20% chance of getting right. It's kind of like that point. I wouldn't say it was luck.
Right.
You have a 1 in 5. Get the right answer. I'm not saying like I'm not.
If you're lucky, you get 1 out of 20, that correct. You get it correct. Otherwise, you have 4 out of 5 chances not getting it correct. Okay?
Probably not even. Winning the lottery.
Mhm.
Right.
The lottery is 1 in like 10 millions.
Luck works everywhere else except at Baruch. So 43, we cannot divide by 2, right? So since we cannot divide by 2, so we split them into 2 pieces. So 43 is 42 plus 1, right? So it's I to the 42 and I to the 1. Now 42 we can divide by 2, it's 21. 21 add, so it gives us -1. And we keep our I. 10. Why don't you do by 10? You can do by 4. But if you do by 4, you have 3 remainders, 3 types of remainder. 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? That means you have to memorize the rest 4 of them. But in here, you don't have to memorize anything except for add means negative, even means positive. Okay. Next. Divide imaginary numbers. What do we do? Multiply by conjugate. We multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So we always look at the denominator, either to divide or rationalize. And we take its conjugate. We love conjugate because we don't have to do FOIL. We can simply take the first term square minus second term square. The top, we are going to FOIL them out. Let's do the denominator first. So we have 9 minus 16i square. But because of the I square is -1, it turns into 9 plus 16. And let me erase this. And what is 9 plus 16?
Hey,
25.
all the answer choices are 25, right?
And then we split 25 into 2 pieces. One is with the I, one is not with the I. There are so many 25. All of them has 25. Oh yeah. Since all of them are 25, we actually didn't need to do that. But anyway. Not always you're gonna have the same denominator. So 5 times 3, 15 plus 20i plus 6i plus 8i squared. So 15. Combining i's, what do we have? 26i. And what happens to the I square? Negative 8. Now we have 15 and negative 8. 7 plus 26i over 25. So 7 plus 26i. Which choice?
C.
D. So this is what you're going to do. Show the correct work and pick the correct choice. Hmm? No, it's okay. Show me in the exam. Show me in the exam.
But how would you know?
Hmm?
You can't even see if you only see the score.
What do you mean?
Or do it that well?
I am going to grade the exam, but department going to check the scan run. And then we'll compare the two results.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh,
Professor, so if someone forgot to write the multiplication of two numbers, we just give them all the answer. Like if you see the work and they chose the right answer choice, but then they wrote two numbers multiplying wrong number, oh, give them the low credit.
It depends. For example, you did a big wrong and you picked the correct choice. That means either you guessed it or you cheated with the phone or you cheated from your neighbor.
Yeah, on your phone.
yeah, there.
By the way, in the final exam, no going to the restroom.
Okay.
Wait. So you don't trust me alone? Wait, how would we give you a
Right.
like why would I?
Hmm?
I feel like for me personally, I feel like it would waste more time.
Exactly.
Like, why would
But
you
there are some people in this class, they go to the restroom every exam. And when they come back, miraculously, they get the results without showing why.
Wait. So you wouldn't let me use the bathroom if I had to really like do myself?
Do it before exam.
Do it before. It's 8 o'clock.
Look, we have 30 questions, only 2 hours. You don't have time to put
Yeah.
during exam.
I'll finish it before.
Come on. These are too blurry.
Miraculously, you got the right answer. Who is it? Yeah, tell us.
There are a few in this class.
Give them a look so I know who it is. So I can type that. Oh, this is easy. We really have some numbers. All right, first one comes to mind.
Bigger. Okay. So page 5. Page 1. Page 1. Okay. So you may see one of these. What's the formula for the discriminant? Oops. D is b square minus 4ac. Now we have a discriminant 29. In other words, the square root of 29. So what type of solution do you have? First of all, it's real because 29 is a positive number. So we have real here, real here, real here, real. All of these are real. So we can disregard these two. And now all these reals, we have irrational if we cannot simplify the radical. So it's too irrational because we cannot simplify 29. As a result, we have 2 x-intercept because these are real. I didn't pick one.
Did.
Oh, I'm looking at the bottom one and I picked the kind. See? 0.
Yeah,
You may know your answer, but if you pick the wrong one, it's 0.
that's what I just said.
So I get 0.
Oh, but,
So you have to be careful.
wait, what?
It's 2 real irrational solutions.
Yeah. Also, like, it's because it's like a square root. The square root is positive. You get 2.
No. That, oh yeah, positive, negative comes here. So that's why we have 2, and these are real numbers, so real. And this is irrational because we cannot square root of 29.
This is what I'm saying. I'm gonna study for 5 minutes on the toilet.
And since they're real, so we have 2 x-intercepts. How about the next one? We have 49. So we have plus minus square root of 49. That gives us plus minus 7. So it's 2 real, what? Irrational or rational? So real, rational. Rational means you can simplify the square root. So you get a whole number. As a result, what is our x-intercept? 2 of them. The next one, we have 0. So we have plus minus square root of 0. That gives us simply 0. Whether you add 0 or subtract 0, it doesn't matter. You have 0. We have one solution that is real. And is it irrational or rational? Rational, because we simplified square root. If we can simplify, it's rational. If we cannot, it's irrational. So we have one real solution. How many x-intercepts? 1. We have negative 16. So plus minus square root of negative 16. That gives us plus minus 4i, right? So how many and which type? 2 imaginary. Is it rational or irrational? It's rational because we could simplify our 16. So 2 imaginary, irrational. See? 2 imaginary, irrational solution. And since we have imaginary solution, how about the x-intercept? Can x-intercept be irrational, imaginary? No. So we have no x-intercept because they are imaginary numbers. Go ahead, Quran. Huh? How is it f? First of all, it's true because we have plus minus. It's imaginary because we have negative under the radical. Sorry, irrational. Oh man.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm saying one thing, but selecting another thing. Be careful. So my making mistake is actually helpful for you. You are not going to make the same mistake in the exam.
If I get it wrong.
All of these are, trust me, not my rule. These are departmental rules. I'm just following the rules. You know why others don't follow? They don't want to ruin their reputation. If everybody fails in the class, what people say about the instructor? Horrible, right? So they don't want to keep, they want to keep a good reputation. So the pass student, oh, go ahead, pass. But does it help students? When you go to the next level, you'll feel definitely. So what's the point of you passing if you don't build your base correctly? So I care. That's why I am harsh. Instead of being at looking at my reputation, I look at your future.
But you probably do have
Who knows? So does it answer you, Quran? It's irrational not irrational. It's rational because you could simplify. It's imaginary because it's negative under the square. Now the last one, we have plus minus square root of negative 61. It's 2, it's imaginary, and we cannot simplify, so it's irrational. And how about the x-intercept? 0. It doesn't exist. Imaginary number cannot be cannot give us any x-intercept. So I'm not sure which scenario they'll give you in the final exam, but most likely they'll give you one of these.
Makes you have a
Hmm?
You have a 4.9 out of 5. But it's only that one. And a lot of people would read.
You're checking my.
Because you said you don't check. So I was like, oh, let's take it.
The next one, we have 22x squared plus 73x equals negative 20. By looking at the option, you can already tell that you are going to use quadratic formula, right? So in order to solve for x, what is our first step? We want to have everything one side. So we add 20 and we get 22x squared, 73x plus 20 equals 0. Who doesn't remember quadratic formula? Alex, let's see, do you remember quadratic formula? What's the quadratic formula, Alex? Let me give you a hint. Negative b. He really doesn't remember. Come on. Make sure you remember before you final. Go ahead, Aditya. Plus minus. B square minus 4ac whole thing divided by. Make sure you remember it correctly. Look at your exam. Many of you wrote me some weird quadratic formula. So be very careful, guys. What is our B? Plus minus 73 square minus 4 times. What is our A? C. 20 whole thing divided by 2 times 22. And since these are big numbers, so this will be under calculator portion. So go ahead, use a calculator and tell me what do we have. Negative 73 plus minus what over 44? See? So 3569. See. Okay. Next one. We are still solving for x. So x squared minus 6x plus 25 equals 0. And do you want to refresh your memory with the complete the square method? If you do complete the square, then we actually don't need this step. Complete the square. It's up to you which method you want to use, but let me refresh your memory with the complete the square. You need to know complete the square because of the circle. There will be one question definitely from the circle, and circle needs complete the square. So it's not bad. You put x and then something inside. What goes inside? Half of that, which is -3. And you add what? Square of the same thing on the other side. So x minus 3 square gives us -25 plus 9. What do we have? -25 plus 9. How much is -25 plus 9? -16. Our goal is to get the x alone. What do we do? Square root. So x minus 3. And what happens to the other side? Square root of -16 is what? Plus minus. Square root of 16 is 4. But we have square root of -16. I. So see, it's imaginary number. Square root of -16 is for I. And it's plus minus because you're solving for a variable. When you solve for a variable, we have to have two choices. The last thing we do is we add 3. So we get x is 3 plus minus 4i. Or it's 3 plus 4i and 3 minus 4i. So that's how we get imaginary numbers. And if they said, find the x-intercept. For x-intercept, what do we write? X-intercept doesn't exist because x-intercept cannot be imaginary. They have to be real. So we have no x-intercept for this quadratic, but we do have two imaginary x-intercept. Sorry, imaginary solution. Any questions so far? Solving rational equation. What do we do? What is step 1? We can bring everything to one side because our goal is to have the same denominator. So 2 minus 3 over x squared minus 5 over x equals 0. And now what is the LCD between x and x squared? LCD between x and x squared. X squared, the bigger one. So the first one doesn't have any denominator. We want x squared. So we put both top and bottom. 2 x squared. Second one already have x squared, so you leave it alone. What do we need on the third one? Another x. And now we are happy because all of them, they have x squared. So we write x squared only once and we combine all the numerator. 2x squared minus 3 minus 5x equals 0. What do we do now? We can multiply both sides by x squared so that the denominator cancel out. We get 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. And now let me refresh your memory with the new cool AC method. I found it really cool. So AC means you're multiplying 2 times -3, that gives us -6. So we rewrite our expression. X squared minus 5x minus 6 equals 0. We disappear the coefficients and we rewrite the C term. The C terms becomes AC and the coefficients is not there anymore. And then we factor. What two numbers multiply to -6 combine to -5? Aditya. 6 and 1, the sign? 6 has to be minus because the middle sign is negative. So plus has to be 1. 1 has to be plus. That tells us x minus 6, 0, x plus 1, 0. So x is 6 and x is -1. And now it's time to come back our coefficient. We divide by the coefficient we disappeared before. That tells us x is 3 and -1/2. Cool, right? You didn't have to remember the grouping method, splitting them, group them, take common factor. You didn't have to remember all of this. Any questions so far? No question? So, one good news. I'm going to give you extra points